This thing's popping a wheelie right now.
Hey guys, T2 out here, Type Preparedness Channel, back again with PD. In today's video, we want to explain, number one, what we believe some issues were from our last Get Home Bag Challenge. Number two, we're going to be answering some questions we know you guys are going to have. And number three, we're going to be showing off some of the new gear to mitigate some of the problems that we had.
If you haven't seen the videos, guys, we'll have a link up here of our last Get Home Bag Challenge. The first video is of our 10-mile Titan challenge, and the second video is of actual camp out that night and why it failed. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let all your friends know.
So I think the biggest problem personally that we faced was we underestimated the cold weather, we underestimated the cold temperatures. Daytime temperatures of about 65 to 70 degrees. Nighttime temperatures, we were expecting about 45. We forgot to take into account the 1,200 foot of elevation that we gained and being actually beside a river. When we got in the vehicle to film the outro or to film, hey, we're going home, we're leaving, it was 31 degrees according to my vehicle. That's not counting any wind chill factor, that's not counting any moisture coming off of the river. That puts a real field temperature of about 25 degrees. So we were expecting 45, we got 25. That's a big difference. That's a big drop from what we were expecting.
We also had a really big change of plans throughout that day. The first location we were going to be at was going to offer us that opportunity to add those leaves and stuff. But due to property ownership and other concerns, we had to move to another location where there was absolutely no leaves. No grass, no nothing really to put underneath us to help us stay warm.
So that was the biggest issue that I think I faced. David, do you have anything different?
Mine's kind of broken up into two parts. From the hiking aspect, the 10-mile Titan challenge carried over into our nighttime outing. The biggest thing, and I said this in the second video when we were explaining that we were leaving, was that I had not had enough water intake that day. I was extremely dehydrated and extremely sore. I was wearing logger boots, big clunky work boots, completely miserable throughout the whole thing, and it carried over into the survival aspect at the night.
He could have sat there and chugged and chugged and chugged a gallon and a half, 2 gallons of water. It wouldn't have done him any good. One of the biggest things you got to remember is to hydrate slowly throughout the day. There are some videos of people testing out their bug out bags, testing out their get home bags, but you look and it's a dry day. It's probably a summer day. It's probably not expecting to get cold temperatures. And we're out here doing these tests, and you guys have been awesome, you know, attaboys and likes in the comments. We greatly appreciate it. We got out there when it was freaking cold outside. You get out there in the worst case scenario, the worst case conditions. If you can survive that, if you can make it through that, good to go. You'll be great on a fair weather day. If you can't, replan, remap out, and you'll be even better for a fair weather day. So we're going to get into some questions. We're going to go back and forth. Some questions we know you guys are going to have. This video is being made before all the comments have came in from the other two videos. So it's just questions that we've asked ourselves and questions that we figured somebody's going to ask in the comment section. So I think the biggest question, David, why did we not build a fire?
One, we didn't expect it to get that bad. We really didn't expect to need a fire. Like you said, we were expecting, you know, fair weather that night. We were expecting 45 degrees, you know. Weatherman said some rain was going to be moving in, but we still didn't expect that to really bother us. Second reason is it had rained the night before. Everything was soaking wet. So we knew that even building a fire, if we made that decision, would have been a hassle. And the third reasoning for not building a fire is just like what we told y'all about not having leaves or grass to put up underneath us. That means we didn't have leaves or grass to help us start a fire. So it was going to be a long drawn out process that we did not plan for until you know, oh no, junk has done hit the fan. So we didn't have the buildup of firewood, we didn't have the buildup of tinder, we didn't have the buildup of anything to guarantee us that fire start.
Another reason that we chose not to build a fire, it was a get home bag scenario. Anyone who builds get home bag, anyone who builds bug out bags will tell you, oh, you want to blend in with your surroundings. You want to go out here and you want to hide.
Be gray man.
Be gray man and disappear off into the woods. What does a fire do at night in the middle of the woods?
To give off smoke, gonna give off light.
It's gonna give off your location. All these people are talking about being all tactical and blending in and disappearing off in the woods. And then they have this big roaring, raging fire sitting right beside them. Your bag should be set up based on Murphy's Law. Don't build your bag, well, if I build a fire over here, I'm going to be good if I lay right here in front of it. Because chances are you're not going to be able to build a fire. Yeah, we carry fire making stuff. I know you know how to make a fire.
Yeah.
Got plenty of gear in his bag. I got plenty of gear in my bag. We could have built a fire. But it was more of a test on what do you carry to prepare for the events. We were testing the gear, not the ability for us to build a fire. On the first video that we did, the walk, I said, hey, look, here's a cave. Would I spend a night in that? Sure, why not? And then about 2 seconds later, would I spend a night in that? No, I wouldn't. So which is it? One of you guys asked the question. Let me explain. That cave specifically, would I spend a night in that cave? 100%, absolutely. If you're going to pick a cave, that cave is the perfect cave. That cave's only about 5 foot in depth. You can see if there's anything in there. So if you can see a big brown creature that's sticking halfway out, you probably don't want to go in there because it's probably a bear. That cave's up here on a hill. The road's right here, and then it goes down another hill. This road stays constantly busy, even at nighttime. So any animals, any bears, any coyotes, whatever that come up this hill expecting to go in that cave, they're going to get hit by cars. So that cave specifically, yes, I would spend the night in it. A random cave that I passed by that I have no clue what's in there, probably not.
Another big thing kind of goes along with the fire question was we had coyotes come into our campsite. Brian told the story about how when he got up to pee, he shined his light and he saw multiple sets of eyes looking back at him. We both carry guns when we're out in the woods, when we're on the trail. With only seeing eyes, you cannot justify using a gun. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I had shot at those eyes and come to find out it was somebody coming into a campsite. So the gun justification was not there. Could we have shot? Yeah. We would have had to pay with the consequences of us shooting.
Hopefully that answers some of you guys' questions. Hopefully that gives you a more in-depth look at kind of what we experienced, some questions that we had, some answers that we've given.
First item I've added to my bag is an actual new bag. I got the Oasis 1200 from Teton Sports. The reason for me buying this bag, one, I've been using my hunting bag as my get home bag. So I decided it was finally time for me to get a separate bag specifically for my get home bag. And I gotta give a shout out to one of our subscribers, Robert Talley from Sportsman Warehouse in Anderson. He recommended this bag to me. It was on sale. I got it cheaper than the bag that I actually had in hand. So far, it's just a great bag. My main reasoning for buying it though was the camel pack, the bladder. During our last challenge, biggest problem I felt like I had to face was hydration. After the hike, I was so dehydrated that there was no coming back from it. It literally took me 2-3 days of trying to get hydrated to feeling back to normal. I have sung nothing but praises of the Cedar Ridge Trooper Jr. sleeping pad. It has been a great pad. I have loved it, and it still works today. During our last challenge, it just wasn't feeling right. It wasn't comfortable. Every time I moved, it seemed like I was rolling off of it, or I was catching a breeze behind my calves. So I decided to finally bite the bullet and buy a full-size sleeping pad. This pad is big enough for me to lay on, both arms completely on it, that much hanging off my head with that much hanging off my feet. I have plenty of room. It is the Alps Mountaineering Featherlight Series long. Be looking for that video. The life bivvy I had has lasted me through 2 challenges and an extra camping trip. It has held up great. It has been great. So I just felt it was time to change. So I've changed over to just this life bivvy, but it seems like it'll be working the exact same as the one that we used in the challenge. I added the North American Rescue IPOC. It stands for Individual Patrol Officer Kit. This is just a tourniquet, gloves, gauze, everything you would need to treat a wound. I've always had a tourniquet. I've always had a first aid kit, but I decided to add this because one, it is airtight sealed, so I do not have to worry about contamination, and I will never get confused on whether or not did I use that gauze or do I have enough, do I need more. Just something small, something simple that I can just throw in my bag, throw in my truck, and just rock on. I've made the conscious decision to change from just toilet paper to wet wipes. If I am covered in mud, if I'm just, just nasty, got something on me that I need to get off, these wipes are wet, so therefore it's like a shower in a bag. The next item I've added to my bag is the Orion Fire Pit Pro. These are great fire starters. It is a literal emergency flare that you use for either signaling or for fire. These flames burn at 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. If we have wet sticks, if we have wet grass, if we have wet anything, these are hot enough to dry it and still have time to start a fire. Also, when we see the eyes, we could have pulled this, struck it, and then instantly had fire just to warn off any threat. Now, we're gonna go ahead and get into something controversial, something that a lot of people may disagree with me. This year, I have made the conscious decision, as of now, I have officially went stoveless. I have decided that instead of carrying a stove, carrying all my food, and all my pots and pans, that I was going to change over to meals like the MRE that have a chemical that is reactive to water to heat your meal. I got both MRE and oatmeal right now. I'll be looking into some other brands later and we'll be giving reviews on them. MRE, it's good enough for the troops. It's gotta be good enough for me. Oatmeal, I've had their turkey chili and it was actually extremely good. We'll see how it does in the field. So this is me coming out and saying that I'm officially going stoveless. There are a few more items I'm wanting to get and to add on to. A few of them are actually going to be everyday carry items. I'm hoping to incorporate a multi-tool into my everyday carry into the future. I'm also hoping to add a flashlight to my everyday carry. I'm currently looking at Olight, but if you have any suggestions, please leave it in the comments and I'll be more than happy to check them out. So that's all the new stuff I got. Let's see what Brian's got.
You'll see on the outside of the pack, I've added 2 new water bottles, collapsible canteen, and then the Catadine Be Free. We didn't talk about it much, but the Sawyer Mini is of course very slow. The Catadine is like triple the speed, so it's a lot faster. Rollable canteen, I can attach this to my hip, and when I'm done with it, just roll it up, put it in my pocket, and that way I opened up the 2 actual water bottle pocket holders for more gear, more supplies. The unfortunate part is I've moved a lot more gear into this bag, meaning that my med kit is now on the outside of my pack. So one of the things I'm looking into is actually getting a bigger bag because I don't like my med kit just freaking dangling. If it falls off, now I don't have a med kit. So I am looking at getting a newer, bigger bag. David enjoys sleeping on the ground for some reason. I don't understand it. I had to get off the ground. So this is actually the Grand Trunk's double nest hammock. It is like 11 foot long by 6.5 foot wide. That gives you plenty of area to spread out, to stretch out. It's not that heavy. It comes with tree straps already in the bag. So I had to get off the ground, go with a hammock. The big blue tarp that I had, just got tired of it. So I had this sitting around. It is the Climate Roamer tarp. I've actually never used this. So I think I'm going to set it up out here in my field one day and see if it even fits over my hammock. If not, I don't know. The Survival Frog emergency blanket or emergency sleeping bag that I had, it's came to the end of its life. It's no longer useful. It's wearing thin in some spots. It's just, it got old. I've used it 3 or 4 times like David said with his stuff, so it's time to replace it. I went with the SOL Escape Bivy. With this Mylar blanket, it's supposed to be breathable. So where you develop condensation in something like the SOL or the Survival Frog or the Titan Survival sleeping bags, this one is supposed to breathe. So I might have to lay out here one night and test it out before we take it on another adventure. Hopefully it'll add some warmth to my sleeping system, and it fits down about the size of an Nalgene bottle. The biggest item that I added, a lot of you people are going to say, hey, why'd you add that? We don't understand. I don't get it. But listen, we both had bags built to specs of other people. We had the emergency sleep bags, we had the emergency tarps, we had the emergency blankets, we had all of this emergency gear, and come to find out, it doesn't work as well as what other people promised because they never test their gear to prove whether it works or not. We proved that it doesn't work. So instead of adding onto it and adding another life bivy in here, adding another Survival Frog sleeping bag liner or another SOL emergency blanket or another UST emergency blanket. Let's get away from all of that. I added a Kelty 50-degree sleeping bag. Unlike the survival blankets and survival sleeping bags that only get warm when you're in them and when they're touching you and when it's not windy and when it's not rainy and when it's not cold, this is going to be warm no matter what. 50 degrees is the rating for survivability, so you're figuring it's probably a 65-degree bag. Hopefully, if this works as well as they say it is, it'll drop me down to 45 degrees. At that point in time, I'm still going to be off the ground, so hopefully if we have another 31-degree night, we're both going to stay nice and toasty. Or at least I am, and David can freeze. Who knows? But yeah, this was all the new gear that I added. Like I said, all of mine was about getting off the ground, getting warm, and staying warm. So yeah, hopefully it works out. We'll see you on the next adventure, and we'll see if it works. All right, guys, we'll see you later. You two out.